Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going back to Barbados.
Barbados?
Yeah, and we're going deeper into the history of the island, specifically the history of its sugar industry.
Ah, interesting. So we're going beyond those sweet treats. Where are we getting all this info from?
Well, we've got some excerpts here from a blog post on the website for Rogues in Paradise.
Rogues in Paradise. What's that?
It's a book and podcast, and it goes really deep into the history of Barbados.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to talk about the fascinating, sometimes brutal role that cast iron kettles played in shaping its destiny.
Cast iron kettles. I'm intrigued.
So let's unpack this complex history. Where did it all begin?
Well, the blog tells us it all starts with the Dutch.
The Dutch.
Yeah. Back in the early 1640s, Dutch merchants introduced sugarcane to Barbados.
Okay.
And it turned out that the island's climate and soil were like perfect for growing it.
Perfect. And that perfect growing environment really shaped Barbados's destiny, right?
For sure. The blog says by the mid-17th century, Barbados had become one of Britain's wealthiest colonies.
Wow.
All thanks to sugar. But, it's really important to remember that it was built on the backs of enslaved Africans.
Right.
Who were brought to the island to work on these massive sugar plantations.
Plantations that started popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
The blog describes them as these vast estates owned by wealthy planters.
Picture this. Fields and fields of sugarcane, as far as you can see. All meticulously cultivated and harvested to feed the demand for sugar back in Europe. These plantations were like their own little worlds.
Really?
Yeah. They had their own mills, boiling houses, slave quarters.
It's amazing to think about the scale of these operations and the enslaved Africans who worked on them. The blog doesn't shy away from describing the horrific conditions they faced.
No, it doesn't. It was brutal. They were forced to work tirelessly under that scorching sun.
I can't even imagine.
Constant threat of punishment, abuse.
It's just awful.
Their labor, though, it fueled the wealth of the plantation owners.
Yeah.
And the British Empire.
Right, at a devastating human cost.
Absolutely.
And the blog brings this home when it talks about these cast iron boiling pots.
Yeah.
Essential for sugar production.
I can't imagine those being very pleasant to work with.
No. Massive, constantly heated by fires. Workers tending them were always in danger of burns.
Oh, yeah?
Injuries.
Full.
And, it's like these iron kettles are physical manifestations of this phrase that the blog uses, molten memories of sugar.
Molten memories of sugar.
Yeah.
I like that.
It captures the pain and danger of the work involved in sugar production.
Right.
Boiling sugar, it can burn your skin.
Ouch.
Just as badly as molten metal.
And these workers were constantly exposed to that.
Every day.
Wow.
Live in. And speaking of those kettles, the blog post mentions something truly horrifying. Slaves falling into the boiling sugar.
Oh, gosh.
A chilling reminder of the extreme dangers they faced every day.
That image, as disturbing as it is, it's crucial for understanding the real cost of sugar production.
It makes you realize that something as simple as sweetness was built on exploitation and violence.
A history of immense suffering, but also, incredible resilience.
The blog, it calls for us to remember that history.
Yeah.
To think critically about the human cost of the sugar we consume.
Absolutely.
And it talks about the resilience and ingenuity of the enslaved Africans and how they preserved their cultural traditions, their skills, which continue to influence Barbados today.
It's an important point the blog raises.
Yeah.
How often we forget about the skills and knowledge that enslaved Africans brought to the island.
Right.
Their contributions were essential to Barbados' economy, but their stories are so often marginalized.
Or completely erased.
It's as if in trying to forget the horrors of slavery, we also forget the strength and ingenuity of the people who endured it.
And there's more to this story.
There's always more.
We need to delve deeper into how these molten memories of sugar shaped the island's legacy.
Well, let's do it.
Let's dive back in. Those molten memories really make you think, don't they?
They do. It's a powerful image.
The blog really challenges us to think differently. And speaking of uncovering hidden stories, the blog mentions the book itself, Rogues in Paradise, and the author's dedication to shedding light on the multifaceted history of Barbados. It explores the island's past from multiple perspectives.
It's about the people who shaped Barbados and how their stories connect to broader historical trends.
The author seems really passionate about making this history accessible. The blog mentions free sample chapters.
Oh, that's great.
And a podcast, too.
Nice.
And get this, there's these large planters in Hunt's gardens, carved out of a gully. They're actually styled after those cast iron sugar kettles.
Wow, that's a powerful visual.
A reminder that even in a beautiful garden, the legacy of the sugar industry is present.
Those planters, shaped like the kettles, they're like tangible links to the past.
They make you think about the labor and suffering that went into creating the world we live in. This was built on exploitation and violence.
A history of immense suffering, but also, incredible resilience.
The blog also talks about the decline of the sugar industry in the late 19th century.
What led to that?
Well, they mention a couple of factors, including the abolition of slavery and the rise of beet sugar production in Europe.
Ah, so competition from cheaper sugar.
Yeah, it weakened the dominance of sugarcane, forced Barbados to find new ways forward.
So it wasn't just one thing that led to the decline, but a combination of factors.
Exactly. But what I find hopeful is how the blog highlights that modern Barbados is actively working to preserve historical sites, to educate people about this complex past. Museums, cultural tours, they offer valuable insights into the lives of the enslaved people.
The blog really emphasizes the need to recognize the role of enslaved Africans. These were skilled artisans, farmers, innovators. Their knowledge of agriculture, their craftsmanship, their cultural practices, it all contributed to Barbados's heritage.
It's a reminder to look beyond the simple narratives, to recognize the diverse contributions of all people. And the blog also points out some of the darker aspects. It says that British slave traders refined cruelty to a level exceeding even their colonial rivals.
Wow, that's a tough one to process.
It forces us to confront the specific ways in which different colonial powers operated.
Colonialism isn't just one story, is it?
No, it's a complex web of individual stories and experiences. It's so important to delve into those stories, to understand the nuances of history. And that's what makes Rogues in Paradise so fascinating.
The blog mentions how the book is full of these true life stories. It gives you a more complete picture.
That's what makes history so compelling.
It's not just dates and facts. It's inspiring. It reminds us that even in the face of, unimaginable adversity, the human spirit can still thrive.
And if you want to go deeper into this history, I highly encourage you to check out the resources mentioned in the blog post, especially those free sample chapters and the podcast. Well, that's about all the time we have for today, but I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the history of Barbados and its sugar industry.
It's been fascinating.
And until next time, keep exploring.
And be sure to register for the book launch at sample.roguesinparadise.com.